Hi, it's Kenny, and this is a 1 year wrap up of my very first year as a motorcyclist. So, back in October, late October of 2024, I signed up and enrolled in my M2 exit test and M course. Not the main M, but the lead up to my M2 exit. Does that make sense? Anyways, so essentially, prior to this, I have gotten my M2. This was back in my 30s and expired, so I never did much with it. I didn't ride a bike. I didn't end up buying a bike in my 30s, and life stuff was going on. I wasn't sure if I was going to be fully committed to being able to afford a hobby like that. And now I'm in my late 40s, and I decided to give it another go. And it was kind of strange because I wasn't expecting it to go this way. It was within a month that I got my M2 exit. Did fairly well. Just having that prior experience really helped out. And just having a lot of experience on things on two wheels helped out as well. So, come November, no, I believe it was just around Halloween time, I picked up my Royal Enfield Bullet 350. And I had intended originally to spend the winter him hawing about what possible bikes might pique my interest, right? And there were a couple that came to mind. Like I really enjoyed the TW200 that was used in the course. Another bike that I looked at was the Yamaha XT250. I was off-road trail curious, and then I looked at what else did I get? There was a couple of supermotos that I was interested in. I think it was a Kawasaki as well. But I knew I kind of wanted a retro style motorcycle. My father used to have a Honda 350, perhaps back in the day when he lived in Taiwan, and he was issued a motorcycle by the government because he was a surveyor back in Taiwan. So I rode that for a bit, and I remember that vaguely. But I always grew up around motorcycles when I was a kid in Taiwan, and it really embedded something in me to just be on two wheels, right? So, this is a 1 year wrap up, but I do want to say that diving into something like this, looking back at the first year, and having pursued other hobbies in my lifetime, it really got me to enjoy just humble beginnings on experience all of this for the first time. The wind in your face, the different smells, the movement, the sunlight kind of flickering through the trees, and all in all, after the first year, I am pleased to say I am quite hooked. And I really didn't intend to look at a Royal Enfield, and the Royal Enfield Bullet was not really even on my radar at the time until I decided and realized there was a local Royal Enfield dealer just the next town over. Now, I'm in Guelph. This dealership is located in Acton. And I went in and I sat down with someone there, and I said, this is what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a bike that's going to be a speed demon. I'm not looking to, shred up the asphalt. I'm looking for something that's going to be somewhat affordable, practical, and something that could be a little more durable, so I can take on gravel trails, go exploring off road. And one of my goals with the motorcycle was really just to pack some equipment, go out, venture out on some off-beaten paths and do photography, create content, make materials, see what's out there around the bend. So he recommended that I sit on the Bullet 350, and it was quite comfortable. I was pretty happy with it, and I walked away from that dealership that day thinking about the Bullet for about 3 hours. After getting home and listening to the Bullet for the first time, because they wouldn't start the motorcycle up there for me, but having heard that thump for the very first time, I was hooked. I went actually, and this is the truth. I went back there just before closing time that very same day, and I said, "I think I want to buy that bike. How do you want to do this?" And there's a picture of me somewhere that I'm going to show with me purchasing the bike, and picked it up about 4 days later. And this being the tail end of October, I wasn't sure if I was doing the right thing, because I could have spent the winter doing my research, looking at a bunch of bikes, but I realized, you know what, if I wanted to hit the road running, going, I should just get the bike and figure out how to ride over the winter. So the first 500 kilometers came and went on the Bullet 350. I did take it in for the very first oil change. And by springtime, I believe I was already at like 2,000 kilometers. And it made me realize that on a cold day, provided you're dressed properly, I was itching to go out and ride. Provided it was mid-afternoon, there's no ice or snow on the roads, even just around the block. I was out there, and I was getting around the motorcycle. I would bring that thing in cold and wet and dry it up and do it all over again. One of the tips I might suggest is also, like, if you have a garage, run a fan. I do this with bicycles or anything that comes in. Anything that's wet, even my snowblower. Bring it in the garage, run the fan, dry it out, and then wipe it up. But not to get sidetracked or anything, I did break up the video into a couple of highlight points, and I'm going to start with the performance aspects of the Bullet 350, the ease of use and maintenance, design, the charm, and cost of ownership and maintenance, as well as just other general experiences and things I picked up in my very first year of motorcycling. So, performance and limitations of the Bullet 350. Having taken on a highway a few times, I can honestly, I don't feel like this is a motorcycle you want to hang out on the highway with. You might you might be able to get away with one or two exits. If you absolutely have to, you can. But where I live on these highways, there are tons of trucks going well past 120. Just sticking to the right lane and not having those options to overtake or pass is a bit of a problem. And you can't ride strategically. I think, if anything else, a lot of people, I feel, take on a bigger bike on a highway, and they see the overtaking as the only, it's the hammer to every nail. That's the only solution. And I'm willing to investigate other ways around that, given the limitations of the Bullet 350. Having done some hills on the 350, at first I felt like he was kind of missing in power. However, now that I've realized I got my gears a little bit more sorted out, gearing, being able to climb a hill, building up that speed over large hills over a period of time, that's certainly helped out. And it is really just a practical motorcycle. If you're not interested in the speed, the Bullet 350, and if you're not riding with a passenger or a pillion, you can go all day long, provided you're not interested in breaking any laws. It's totally suitable for the job. And I run errands on it. I go on trips to the next town. I meet up with my friends in various coffee shops. I buy groceries. And as an everyday utilitarian motorcycle, I absolutely love it. And I didn't necessarily want to buy something that was a little bit more fancy. Like, I'm in it to kind of enjoy motorcycling sort of in its utilitarian state, I guess. And the honest truth is really just that I don't know. I didn't know at the time whether or not this was something that was going to stick. Like, I didn't know I was going to keep continuing riding a motorcycle. I might hate it, right? So, and as far as performance goes, I realize there are ways you can increase the performance to the bike, but given so little that it has, and it's not going to be any significant, you're not gonna get the warp drive on this going. I'm not worried about it. It really does everything I need it to do. There was one instance where I was wishing I had some power, and that was, riding behind a transport truck that was carrying like gates or something, some kind of structure, and the wind hitting me, if I followed too close, it would just constantly beat me around. And this was on a stretch of, country road that was going on for like 5 minutes. What can you do, right? But you put up with these things on a motorcycle just because that's life. That's reality on two wheels sometimes. Performance, cornering, braking. I think everything's adequate on this motorcycle. There's nothing I wish it had more of. Given the power, it is very manageable and predictable. I have not once gone into a corner thinking I was going too fast. It's just not the bike that really pushes you to do that. So to wrap things up on performance, the Bullet 350 has its limitations on its power. However, and this also applies to any of the J Series Royal Enfield 350s, is that given the low power and given the build, the type of motorcycle it is, the utilitarian aspects of it all, you could take this motorcycle, and I've realized this right off the winter, and I didn't realize at the time, but you can ride later in the season, you can ride earlier in the spring, you can get out on rough roads, you can ride in the rain, you can do a lot of things with this motorcycle. The trade-off might be not be able to access those higher speeds like on a highway, but it does make up for a lot of that in its other capabilities. It's a light enough bike you can manage should you get into some issues off-roading, and it's not overly expensive that you are gonna worry about getting it dinged up, scratched up, dropped in those types of situations. The other thing I want to speak about is the ease of use and maintenance, service intervals, oil changes, valve checks, things like that. Tons of resources are online for you to kind of DIY everything. And if you can't, most motorcycle techs, mechanics, can look at this motorcycle. Everything's so easy to access. Everything's so easy to work on. I have not had any issues with any of the work I've done on my motorcycle. I might have had some mishaps, as you might know, but it's all relatively, all the parts are relatively affordable. It's a very cost-effective motorcycle to run, and people talk about the cost and these motorcycles being cheap. It is on the most, it is one of the more affordable motorcycles if you're to purchase a brand new motorcycle. But it kind of is and kind of isn't. Like, the way I see it is, if you're looking for a motorcycle that isn't going to give you that extra performance, you're not looking for like the high tech stuff. You're not looking for the sportiness of a bike. You pay a premium for all of that, right? And if you aren't going to offer any of those, this bike at its price point is still giving you everything that you might want. If you value the utilitarian aspects of the motorcycle, the affordability of running it, the very basicness of the bike, and the performance limitations, it offers so much for the price you're willing to put up, and you're not paying any more for things like performance, tech, exotic materials, none of that. So it's a great bike given the cost. If you are happy with its limitations, the cost is in line perfectly for people that just want that everyday motorcycle. And having seen motorcycle culture out there, a lot of people do ride a motorcycle as a hobby. Like you see them out on their sport bikes carrying nothing but, I don't know, maybe a fanny pack. But this is not a bike that is solely just going to be a hobby bike. It can do so much more, and I like that aspect of this bike because of that. Like, it is capable on out on a lot of different terrains, and you can't dismiss that on a motorcycle. And I also just want to add that this is a motorcycle that is mass produced in a country like India, where families go on this bike. This bike is ridden through floods, monsoons. It is weather tested and proven in a place like India, where people ride all year round. So it is a very capable bike coming out of that market and being exported here. Now, this is another topic that I've been itching to talk about, is the design and charm of the motorcycle. The comments I've gotten riding this motorcycle around, everyone who might not know what it is will just still feel like they want to talk to you. They would just be like, "Hey, nice bike." And the truth is, I don't see a lot of bike like this on the road out there. A lot of bikes look like Hornets. They're aggressive, or they're just like, menacing, big, loud cruisers. This is sort of like a very friendly motorcycle, and I like that aspect of the bike itself. This motorcycle just has tons of charm, and it, for the money that you're paying for it, and if you like that retro aesthetic and that appeal, and the basicness of it, it's a great bike. There are, other motorcycles that come to mind, like the Triumph T100s, the new Honda CB350s. But I mean, come on, like Royal Enfield is the OG. This is the original. Not a whole lot has changed on this bike, and it is kind of the OG. I feel like of. It's not even retro because it's just so old, coming from that Royal Enfield heritage. So I kind of want to wrap things up here, but in my 1 year of riding a motorcycle, and I'm now currently at 8,700 kilometers, having learned all of these things, it has been a very solid motorcycle in those almost 9,000 kilometers. The things that I wish I knew about riding a motorcycle, one is just like how much you are facing the raw elements out there when you're on a bike. That was not something I was totally prepared for. The weather changes, the road conditions. And I have to say, like, I was dreading over the summer, seeing all these casualties, fatalities show up in the news. And I'm just kind of wondering, like, what the heck's going on? Like, have I chosen something that is just eventually going to be, is this a very dangerous sport? And yes, it is. Sport or not, it's a dangerous mode of transportation. Let's not dismiss that. And motorcycles are very unforgiving. But the things that it's offered me, that sense of getting out in the world, experiencing things in a different way, and just the things that allow me to go out and do things on a bike. Like I've worked off of this motorcycle, and how many people can say they still do that? Like I rode a motorcycle over the summer photographing a charity for pancreatic cancer, and I follow these cyclists who are doing insane kilometers, and me packing a camera, a drone, following them and photographing on a motorcycle. That was a wild experience. I loved every bit of that. And it did the job perfectly fine. It was totally suitable for that type of work. So it's been a wild ride, but I am very glad that I chose to ride a motorcycle and have decided on the Bullet 350. And the 350s are just exciting motorcycles for a first timer or anyone who's returning to the sport. Not maybe it might not necessarily be for anybody who's already in the sport. And I'm not kind of trying to dismiss other motorcycles, other riders. I'm just kind of speaking for myself. And again, this is my experience in my very first year, just trying to enjoy the humble beginnings of riding a motorcycle. So thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later.